No, I'm sorry.
Lights have been on. They're here.
Nice. You know, no wind. No.
And obviously now we're going to chapter.
It's gonna be.
Yeah, the first meeting. I can't believe that. I can just see you.
I just looked and shook my head. And everybody up there just kind of looked at me. I said, I don't even proposition my own husband.
You handled it.
No, I think that's. Thank you.
I'm leaving as soon as we're done talking about Queensland. Well, it was very nice of you.
Well,
What did I do?
It's the thankless job. I know. I found it. Can't relate to it. Thank you so much for listening to us.
He's actually bribing you.
No, I'm not. I was thinking, I don't know what it makes this. But thank you so much, because it is just a thankless job sometimes, even if we get a lot of complaints and not a lot of things. Thank you so much.
What do you mean? Is it cookies or candy?
I only made one batch. So we didn't have cookies first like that. I mean, the first thing of them. I don't know. Only gave six.
I know, but you can't,
Oh, boy. Oh, she's not gonna be here tonight?
I know, she's in the sunny place of Florida.
It's happy hour down there now.
Everybody's there.
Where's the help away?
What, Florida?
Oh, you are very. I'm sorry. And I'm telling you all your
Yeah.
stickers.
Yeah.
Nice, where'd you go?
Tracy started.
That's right.
Mhm.
It's very.
And it's gonna only get me colder and colder.
She would be great.
Huge water. He left at halftime yesterday. And then John stayed for a little while, and when I got there, I just found him and I said, I think I'm done doing what I. You go.
Well, I have.
Hey, are you?
Much better now.
Better now. Yeah.
Very much one. Something about.
He's been, you know, all of these. We looked up all, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I've-
Here we need to be. That in your fly. The Pledge of Allegiance. Has everyone had a chance to look at the minutes? Any changes or corrections? I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved. Okay, approval,
Second.
second, sorry, all vote aye for approval,
Aye.
no opposed. Passes. Kramer Beach report.
Kramer Beach report. So at the last meeting, we were awaiting, we had that item, that report from item that we had done something wrong by dumping that sand. And by talking to item, they responded to us. And in an email, which, did I put that in there? And we were not in the wrong. They said that we were, we didn't get close enough to the water, that we, they said, please consider the incident with item resolved.
Great.
So,
So I have a question, Tracy. Who's supposed to bring sand in now? Like if we need sand in the spring, which we probably will, we always do.
well, who did it before? I wasn't here.
Rick was the last one that delivered it.
The commissioners would have to give the approval to do that, and then the highway department would bring it out, so that we'd have to ask the commissioners to do that.
Okay, take care of it come spring. No sense in the grounds.
I got an email.
Pardon?
What?
We did get a letter from them that they're going to sue us, blah, blah, blah. I handed it over to Justin for, I don't know, something about because we put the sand in, it flooded their property. I'm not a lawyer, I don't
Doesn't even go-
understand. I just kind of handed it over to Justin and said, or Justin said, here's where we're at now.
Yeah, well, they actually sued the county. It didn't sue them, it was a tort claims notice, so it's a process. If they haven't done it yet, we'll handle it.
And got with item, the DNR about the beautification, the things that you guys were gonna, you know, the grading up the ground and moving the tables and all of that kind of stuff. And they said we did not have to have a permit for that also, because we were not going to be hurting the water or, you know, entering the water or anything. It was just the ground. So
Okay,
I do have a verification on that also.
And that was in writing from them or verbal?
Writing an email from them.
Cool. That was the Kramer Beach reports.
I think that's it, unless you guys have anything.
signs,
The signs, Rick just told me where the posts are, so
okay,
we get
if you
with
need
that.
help, give us a jingle.
And the boats too, make sure you pick up the boats.
Okay,
So,
just ask whoever's,
at the front desk.
okay,
Do you know what the time frame is for the signs to be installed?
Whenever after Tracy gets them, the highway department will have to install them, so.
yeah, I'll have to get with them and we'll have a.
Thank you.
I have a question also, Tracy, about riparian rights. Are we still pursuing that or? Because that's something that they were, DNR had told me that we had to find riparian rights. Get riparian rights for that area. Is that true or not? Because it was deemed a public beach for you guys, by the county. I don't know if that would be true.
I think we do talk about this 2 meetings ago.
About it, maybe.
Yes. I don't think we have to do anything. Pretty much the way it needs to be.
Wonderful.
Good, thanks, Rick.
All right, Tracy, Forrest and Bruce. Sorry, Tracy, you done?
Yeah, with that part.
Done with Kramer Beach,
Unless you have something else.
no. Happy to hear that, those results.
All right, next, Forrest, Bruce Wakeland would like to say.
We had a discussion about this, I've been asking for about 4 years and nothing ever has come of it, partly because of COVID and partly because of the drought. The drainage board didn't meet. But what I wanted was, we had, it's been 5 or 6 years ago, or maybe more. We had a problem out there with the beavers flooding and a local guy who was kind of off base, in my opinion, but he was complaining to the Department of Water and the drainage board got involved because running through the marsh and the Stark County Forest is Anderson Ditch. It was dug in 1899 And there's no maintenance fee for it, which means that for the years that I owned it, before I gave it to the county, I was responsible for maintaining it. Now we are as your committee. And the drainage board got all upset and decided that they were going to require that the marsh be drained and the beavers be trapped. And of course, that kind of, I mean, that marsh is a really intricate part of the forest, biologically and water quality, and for a lot of reasons. And so they actually hired and sent a crew out there, a contractor, and they actually tore out some beaver dams and began the process of draining the marsh. Anyway, so my complaints finally stopped that. And so Marty Lucas, the attorney at the time, Kathy Norm, the commissioner that represented the park board. I don't even know if they had park board yet. Yeah, we did. The park board at the time, myself, the county surveyor, Bill Price, and there was one or two other people there, and I just don't remember exactly who they were. But the main group was the ones I just mentioned. And we spent an hour and a half or more out there discussing it right there on the dam one day, and we came up with an agreement. And the agreement was, okay, we're not going to drain the marsh as long as it doesn't get higher than a specified level, but we do need to trap the beavers out. And well, I thought the beavers were pretty neat, but I thought that agreement gained us was pretty good. Because the marsh, we got 95% of what we wanted there, because the marsh was the big thing. The beavers were just one part of the marsh. And so the agreement was that whenever beavers came, I would contact the county surveyor and he would arrange to have them trapped. And the trapper, I think, was a state police officer that did it on extra time. That's not, they operated strange hours, so I don't usually see them. Anyway, so that worked real well. I think there must have been 8 or 10 times that we had beavers, and it always got taken care of pretty nicely. And so I thought it was a good agreement. So I became worried that as time went on, since that agreement was just a verbal agreement that the group of us made, that would get lost, and that it was working out pretty well. And so I thought we needed to get it in writing, because everybody that was involved that day was starting to disappear. Marty Lucas isn't here anymore. Kathy Norm is no longer on the park board or a commissioner.
Bill no longer the surveyor.
Now we've lost our surveyor. Everybody's still available, but they're not, we're just sooner or later that agreement's going to get lost. And so I thought we need to, it's working out really well, and I don't want to have to go through that again, because the most negative part about that first episode was that the park has its own financial. And the money that is from timber sales is to pay for maintenance and improvements. And they were going to use the money to drain the marsh. And that just really made me so mad, because that was exactly the opposite of what that money was. That's a destruction of the forest. That is not maintenance or improvements. And so that was another concern of mine. That money needed to be spent properly. And so so I've been pushing for several years to get this agreement in writing so that it doesn't get lost. And then COVID came along, and that kind of put a wrench in things. And then we had 2 droughts, and the drainage board hardly ever met, and it just has never happened. So we're in the process of trying to get that done. Did you get that? We had a nice conversation a week or so ago about the details and what I'd written up, just a descriptive version, not a legal version, and Justin was going to take it to the next level for a presentation. I don't think you did that done.
Yep, I've got this is just for you guys to look at. I think we'll talk about it at the next meeting, because I also have to get it to the commissioners at their next meeting, since they're the de facto drainage board. But I have an MOU, and Mr. Wakeland was nice enough to get on the phone with me late last week, and we talked about it. He kind of filled me in. It's very confused when I get a call about beavers and relocation. It's about what we're talking about. you guys say, look at this at your leisure, we'll talk about it, and then here's one. You guys can let me know what you like, what you don't
Yes.
like.
And by-
Like I said, I'll present it to commissioners, and maybe we'll talk about it in January, so we can vote on it and get it in place.
I do remember the agreement when you made that.
Well, she did it.
Beaver also affected the roadways at the time. We all lived together. I may have been one of the meetings.
Okay, you may have been.
And
I know there was more than the list.
I think that was a good agreement and it did work. It was a positive thing.
Yeah, it.
It's upside down, it's there.
I'm sorry.
Review this and talk about it next meeting.
Give me covers if you think I missed anything.
I will let you know, I'll read this. I one more little thing. Recently, the board adopted the mission statement that I suggested. That said that in the end, we will conserve only what we love. We will love only what we understand, and we will understand only what we are taught. So in that vein, I've always wanted to have an annual event out there that worked towards that mission statement. And so in Indiana, I've made a bunch of phone calls this fall. And in Indiana, Earth Day is almost not practiced formally anywhere in the whole state. So my first thought was, well, perfect, we will celebrate Earth Day out there. The problem, I talked to the guy that runs the only celebration near that in the whole state, and that's called Earth Environmental Day. And that is done in Indianapolis. And Earth Environmental Day is the United Nations version of Earth Day. It's a parallel celebration. And the reason they celebrate Earth Environmental Day instead of Earth Day is the date. The date is June the 5th. And weather-wise, that's way more favorable than early April, which is Earth Day. And so that is why they celebrate Earth Environmental Day, which, like I said, a United Nations sponsored thing in Indiana. And that's about the only formal celebration of either one that I found. And so I decided I like that because the chances of a nice weather event is better on the 5th of June. This coming spring, the 5th of June is on a Monday.
Well, she's in Florida.
So my proposal is that for the first, I want to do this. I want to have it an annual event. And so I would propose trying to put it together for the 4th. And it would involve, you got to remember, the Stark County Forest is only 1.5 miles into Stark County. And if you talk to the people that hike the trails and that come out there, there's about an equal number of them from Marshall County, which is, and
Okay,
so I would try to involve the publicity and everything for
Okay.
both Marshall and Stark County.
thank you.
And I, about 15 years ago, our RC&D Forestry Committee started a monthly event. It's not, I'm talking about an annual event, but every month we have what we call Breakfast with a Forester. And there's usually 4 or 5 of us foresters that meet for breakfast in different locations. And the public is invited, and we sit around a table and have breakfast, and everybody asks questions and talks, and it's really a great event. But what I noticed early on was it's not only good for landowners to come into an enjoyable environment, meet other people and ask questions and hear the answers to everybody else's questions and everything, but it's also an incredibly fine event for the professionals that get involved and meet to put the event on. Because we got 4 or 5 foresters and, consultants like I am or was, and the DNR foresters and a few industrial foresters. When you get together with somebody every month for breakfast, you get to know them and you work together, people work together better. So there was 2 huge benefits to that. And we're still doing it. We got one coming up on the 20th of December in Peru. So I wanted to mimic that advantage. I wanted to have an event that benefited the professionals and in our area to work together better, as well as an event that helps the public learn about Stark County. I wanted to accomplish both, just like the Breakfast with the Forester. So I've been working on a list of anybody that I felt represented conservation in our area. Agency people like the soil conservationists and the Purdue Extension and the soil and so agency people, I want to get them involved. I want to get all the conservation organizations like the Turkey Federation and Autobahn and I got a list on here. I got about 15 organizations, right? And we would get them involved in putting it on. And we would give hikes. And each person that was involved in putting on the program, the wildlife people, everybody that was involved in putting it on would probably give us a talk somewhere on the tour. And we would have at least 2 different tours available that day. And we would maybe have a food wagon out, a food truck out there and probably have the porta potties. So there might be a little bit of expenditure for a porta potty. The food wagon probably would do it just for the sales they would make. And so we would probably have a morning tour and an afternoon tour, that sort of thing. Like I said, the end result would be the public would benefit from the education and the fun of learning about the forest, and the professionals putting it on would learn to work together and get to know each other, and so it's a double benefit. And so that's what I want to try to get started and try to convert it into an annual event.
I think that's a great idea. We've always needed to highlight the forest more and wonderful place, and I think that's a wonderful way of doing it. You could work with Tracy and Tracy.
Right, we talked about that birthday.
Right.
coming
Yeah,
up, and that'll be here before you know it.
It's become a World Environmental Day because of the date. I just
Okay.
think June the 4th would be a lot nicer day than early April. It's
Yeah.
just- So, and that's the same reason Indianapolis, which is the only other type of celebration I found in the whole state. That's why they do World Earth Environmental Day, because of the date. And I thought that made sense.
Right. And on another note, on the forest, the motto that we adopted, the saying, I did get that recorded in the recorder's office, so we're good there.
And then the funds that would be needed for like the porta potty, that kind of stuff, that could come out of that forest fund as well, right? Or-
Yeah, the fund, our fund, the auditor's office keeps it. We got somewhere around $20,000 in it, I believe. And it's that most of that has come from 2 timber sales, and we've got a 14-acre area that is in the conservation reserve program. And so that kicks in $1,325 that the payments on that acreage, and there's 4 more years before that runs out. So we got 4. And in fact, I'm the operator, so the payments come to me, and then I take them up and donate them to the fund. And so I got to do that yet this year. I keep forgetting to do that. But I got they directly deposited into my account that the NRCS does.
You're doing a good job with that. The forest is fully self-supporting, so it's a wonderful.
And which is why I'm the manager, because I'm doing it for free. And by the time I die, I'm hoping that fund will be fat enough and by that time, all those walnut trees out there is going to start coming online. I don't think there's ever going to be an issue with money after that.
I do remember about a year ago, you had a long-term plan that you presented to the board that would sustain it for the next 20, 30 years. And I think that plan was in writing, and we will hopefully follow that. All right. Next, Bass Lake.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. Bass Lake road grading.
So the county was gonna come out and try to grade the roads first before, we put money into the gravel and everything. So they did come out, and Dan didn't realize that there's actual, what is it, asphalt chips or whatever, so the grading did nothing. And so he basically said he's gonna regroup and figure something different out, so. If you can't, you can't grate those holes out, you just keep putting gravel up, you're gonna flood it worse, so I'm gonna let him figure out what we're gonna do, what our next step is. I have not locked the gate yet because they're still gonna come in. Something happened with the loader, and then it poured down rain on Friday, and then, just one thing after another, and at their mercy, so I haven't locked it yet, so they didn't have to. I mean, I can give them the code or whatever, but I just thought it might be easier, but And then I thought a few of you might be down, you might wanna see how beautiful it is.
Right. Next, DNR peer reports.
I have North Pier 1 and North Pier 2 both done, drawn up. I just have the South Pier to do. Claims went in Monday. Anyway, it's $100 for the permit. Or it'll be all 3 piers under the $100. So I'm having them cut a check. I'll receive that check on the 19th and hopefully have all of that ready to be sent in. I went out and took pictures of, where they're gonna be placed and things like that, so. On a roll with that.
Okay.
And I'll meet with Tom and Steve Barrett for a final
Great.
before we go.
Lift station bids.
So these 2 bids were kind of before my time. And of course, they all say valid 60 days or whatever, but it kind of gives an idea of what these 2 companies wanted. One was 32,500. One was 36,150. So I've been working with Jack Campagna, he's local. He's done a lot of the hospitals in Lake and Porter County. And how he priced it out is he gave me a price for the materials, and what we would do is we would order them all of ourselves and pay for them so that we know that he's not upcharging anything, and then his labor would be separate, but his price came in at $22,555, almost $10,000.
That's without the material then.
It's all up.
That's all.
With the material, and they have like 4 or 5 pages of them. I mean, everything is like these other 2. This was 1 and this was 2. And then this was Jack's. And it has every single thing that we are going to need, every part. It has diagrams. I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer, but.
Where in funding will that come from?
Well, in talking to Dave Pierman, he's hoping that they will help us out on that. The council. He's hoping. I mean, we would have to present it, to them. But we just, we pretty much said we really can't open without a new lift station. We just can't go through that again. Even if, they can help us with most of it.
So are you recommending that?
I am, because, like I said, these just say remove old pump, install new pump, replace valves, train personnel and operating, and then there's the bid. And the other one, nothing really tells exactly what they're gonna, That's my thought. Anybody can look at them and see what they think. Of course, we can't do, a whole lot with no water on right now, but, as soon as we can get to it in the spring, I just thought I would give an update on what we have. We do have 3 bids and kind of where we're at.
I would entertain a motion contingent upon council approval that we select Jack Campagna to do the work.
I'd second that motion.
Or sorry, to make it.
Oh, I thought you made it.
Entertaining, so I was entertaining the motion.
I would make that motion.
Now I'll second it.
All approve, would I?
Aye.
Anybody against? Good. Next. Troyer Group, about a month and a half ago, members of the member of the council, and Tracy, and a couple members, board members here, and a member of the Trailhead Group met at the Bass Lake Beach to discuss possible improvements. We've been discussing the Land and Water Conservation Grant Fund grant process, and we think we would try that this next year. And in order to do that, we have to get a master plan for improvements, or exactly what we want to do, and some estimates. The Troyer Group, who has done some work out there and did some of the work for the Stellar Group, gave us a proposal for that work, for the master plan, and to shepherd the application through the process. Has everyone had a chance to review that? And we did speak with Dave Pearman, and he said the council would also entertain helping with that as well.
Now, the way this, like their fees. You know, one, it says a lump sum, blah, 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 but then below it says. They would basically bill you monthly.
Right, and we have to kind of talk to Sawyer Group and get them to kind of explain that a little bit better.
Okay,
And I think they could come down on that one lump sum price as well, the 19.5. But we do have to get this moving fairly quickly,
right.
so.
And he has, you know, some projected, you know, timeframes in here that he would like to do.
Correct. I think we should,
And I did email him the other day and told him that I would have more information for him after tonight's meeting because it was going to be on the agenda.
I think I personally would like a few more details on the fee. Exactly what they'll be doing and get in writing that they will actually do a little bit more. We've never had trouble with the Troyer Group, but I would like some more details in that. But we do have to get this started, so we probably have to get this approved by the January meeting because the application is due in May or June. And that's a tight time schedule for them, even if we approve it in January. But I'm a little hesitant to approve it tonight because I would like a little more details.
Right.
Yeah, I'd like to know what the 19.5 is for too. Put a number on paper, doesn't mean much.
I'll contact Mike this week and then send that to you guys when I get the answer.
And then we'd have to figure out exactly where it's coming from, right? Whether the council.
That's correct.
Some and whether.
I mean, it has like an anticipated schedule of. you
There
know,
is some information here,
but-
but there could be more.
Right.
After we figure that out, then we can get whether we will come. We approve it. All right. Next, discussion of current lease and rules. Stand by.
Well, what I suggest we do, and I don't know if you want to do that in an open meeting or in a meeting with just the membership, that we discuss, first of all, we need to meter electric. We have to meter electric. It's cost way too much. We need to fix that bathhouse. That's a must. That has to be done. It isn't really something that can wait a year or two. It needs to be done as a priority, just like the pumping station needs to be first. It needs to be second. You can't expect people to pay without complaining if they don't have a clean, decent facility to go take a shower, go to the bathroom. Just that simple. And I have checked with a couple of people that go to different campgrounds. And right now, Stark County is way behind in the cost and rental fees. We are probably 30 to 50% below the average. And I think that's probably why a lot of people are here. It's cheap. But it's costing us. And at this point, we, as a group, we're hired to take care of the Stark County taxpayer. That's our job. We're doing this, we're running this. It belongs to the citizens and the taxpayers of Stark County. It doesn't belong to anybody that lives out there for 6 months. And I know I've talked to a couple of people that really have a terrible attitude about that because they got money in their pocket. I don't, so they're better than me. I don't like that. It's obvious. So once again, do we want to continue this right now as far as how much we want to charge? Or I think we'll probably do it in a closed group. And then present our findings and what we're going to do.
How does that work?
Because, well, we will establish new prices. It really isn't up to anybody out here to determine the price. Supply and demand will determine the price. If somebody wants to camp there, fine, they can camp there. If they don't want to, if they think it's too high, well, they'll have to go find something else. I don't mean we're gonna double the prices. I don't mean something like this, but we need to get to such a position where we can be self-supporting. And right now, look at all the projects we need done. And we have nothing to do it with. And by the money that we're coming in, we're still at this level. We haven't improved a thing. And without money coming in, we can't improve anything. And we just need to do it. Another problem that we have that I see, I think that we need to, because it is for people of the county, I think that beach, it needs a little work done to it, but fees. I think that it ought to be so minimal that people will come there. We already talked about raising fees. Okay, you got a family that's got 3 or 4 kids. You bring one, so it's gonna cost you $20 to get in, or 25. You just chase them away, and they're taxpayers. Why can't the kids be in there for free? Just don't see a problem with it. I like I said, because of raising the rentals to where it supports the park, makes it work. Pays for all the new amenities. Then it doesn't, then we're not going to the county council saying we need money. It is self-supporting.
Well, Tracy, now you run the budget, and obviously, the money. Do you think you could come in our next meeting with a report on the fee schedule based on what we are taking in now?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, I'm good.
I think
But
the
we're also-
superintendent could come up with that fee schedule and then present it to the board at the next meeting.
Like as far as how much came in at the gate, how much came in.
And suggestions on how much to charge is what.
Well, it was changed. I wasn't here yet, but it was changed sometime last year. I don't know if it was the beginning of the year or what. It was an odd number or something, wasn't it? And they decided to make it, so we didn't have to have coins and change and ones and everything. They made a motion to make it $5 for one person. But if you had 10 people in your car, it was $10.
So you're talking about beach access.
The beach access, because that's what you were talking about, right? Stanley?
Right. Beach access, yes.
And as far as the lease agreements and things like that, those are scheduled to go out in the next week or 2, right? Or 2
Yes,
weeks.
they're already printed up.
So I
and
think
they
for
will-
this year, I think
there was a
you're right.
motion.
There is a long-term thing that we have to figure out and make sure that we have enough funds to be
It's in the
able to.
minutes somewhere.
do the business that we need, 'cause we've all been out there. And we've all been out there and know that there's longer term things that we need to do. That's part of the reason why we had that committee to get together to try to do some improvements and do those larger things.
So one of the good things that Sawyer will be doing is that they will be giving estimates for the bathrooms and other things as well.
Right,
And kind of what needs to be done and what could be done.
right.
And that would be covered in that agreement.
Yeah, because I don't have any problem talking about it, but I think for this year, I mean, I think we gotta kind of stick with what we've already decided. And then look at what we need to be able to do.
It was in the minutes somewhere. I've seen it, that it was approved for $2,300 for this coming season. So I
Right.
don't really think you can change it right in the middle.
I'm Todd Linebaum, county council member. There's no meters out there now on any of the permanent residents? It is $2,600.
23.
Geez,
23 for
somebody don't
the
lose money on that.
We do,
That's wow.
we do.
As a county council member, I'd be more apt to figure out some way to meter those sites. And let's come up with a little bit of help for that as well, because that's very important. I think if you go to any place else, it's probably 2,500, 2,600, 3,000 maybe, and you pay for all the utilities.
And I think, we talked about something, is it feasible to do that? It's very expensive to get them all metered. The only problem with that is, so when you meter them, NIPSCO still sends you one bill. Then it's up to us to go around to every camper and get their money. They do not bill them individually. So to me, that's gonna take like a whole nother person. that's gonna be a full-time job going door to door trying to, or sending these. You know, so then it was brought up, should you just put like $100 fee per camper? I don't know what the answer is.
$100 a month maybe, because they have nothing in it. They can leave for the whole week, leave their.
And they do.
Running.
And they
They
do.
absolutely do.
Well,
That's not
and now,
fair.
now that's, that would be an alternative. as
And
well.
that would, be a number that
But
somebody.
it has to be a number that's gonna cover this $50,000.
You're not gonna make everybody happy because they're gonna stay for 3 weeks and I was here every day and it, but like I said, in order to meter it, that's the issue with that. It's hard enough to go get everything else, putting late fees on and to try to go every month and get their next bill. 40 or 50 of them.
Yeah, again,
think
I
that
think,
would be,
I think the cost of actually metering it, and it's a long-term thing. We've talked about this before. It's not like it's the first time it's been brought up. To meter these things, but the expense of doing that, we barely have enough funds just to be able to operate.
I know where your funds are.
Yeah,
we're trying
right.
to
So,
get there.
and
I mean,
and we're-
but
and it's
there-
not that it's a bad idea.
You're
It's
to
just,
the point there where you could actually lose money. Damn. near.
well, and I think that's what we ought to really do is kind of take a look at last year's NIPSCO bills monthly and kind of get an idea of exactly what they are and how much we have going towards that. So how are the fees comparing to what those actual monthly bills are going into that? I mean, we should at least start with a basis of, the facts are. I would think, right?
One of the big things that's gonna be brought up with an increase in everything, and I'm just speaking up what the fact is, there's no sewer there. Everybody's gotta carry their sewer to the dump station. And you talk about the other campgrounds being a lot higher. That's a pretty big thing for the campers. You have to haul your own stuff away. So that's gonna be some of the static that you're gonna get on an increase right now, but and that might be, if you're doing a big renovation, that might be something you want to consider too.
I know several campgrounds within 50 miles here that have permanent sites and they do not have. Everybody takes their sewage and takes it to the dump station.
and we are planning on moving that back by the lift station
Yeah.
also, not leave it right out there.
That's one thing
where
that's
it is,
gonna
And that won't add a lot.
Be an objection by the campers for you.
There's other things, there's a lot of sites that need the 50 amp. And there's no 50 amp. There's several sites, they have to use a conversion, it's a 30 amp and. They've got a 50 amp trailer, there's with the electric. There's some spots that need to be updated for the 50 amp service.
And that can be done too, and it's not cheap either.
That's expensive.
Tracy, I had talked to you a few months ago when I came over to the office. And we had discussed putting together a list of projects prioritized on what needs to be done out there. Did you guys ever get that?
No,
That's kind of what they were doing this report. And we could access that conservation fund money to do these things, even upgrading electricity and other things.
So they'll go into the fine detail of all the
Yes,
projects.
Not just beach house,
Right.
for the entire beach and campground.
When will we get this from?
I'm gonna talk to.
And I think that's the reason why we're looking at that approach, and it's because we're just barely getting by with the operating funds that we have now. And we realize that in order to do these improvements that are needed, I'm not saying they're not needed.
We're right in the spot where
Right.
the fees versus what they get. And if we gotta go up, there's a lot of things like they're discussing right now that need to be fixed.
Right.
So I mean, we have to work together without a
Right.
doubt.
Right, and the amenities have to kind of match up.
and I think,
with what the fees
if
are.
we fix these things, we won't be spending that kind of money that was spent last year
Correct.
in repairing them and putting Band-Aids on them, If we spend the money, actually almost what this did for fixing that lift station in is almost what was spent this year in repairs.
Oh, it's probably more. It was more than we spent repairs, I bet, than the 22. I would think.
You mean you had more repairs than we?
Yeah, there was more
Yeah.
repairs than that.
So,
That was a general figure that was given that included digging up the sewer pipes and everything when it got blocked. It really wasn't caused by the lift station, it was blockage from the bathroom.
But it's the overall system.
Overall package, and that's gonna be flushed out as well, so that, those things will be.
I just think it's a start in the right direction, like we we've talked at every meeting. This has been a mess for a long time and we can't, it didn't happen overnight. We're not gonna change it overnight.
We'd still be
can go
getting more revenue
step by
from
step.
the peers this year too, right?
Yes, well,
Yeah.
that's
except for
kind of
we did-
iffy too, because we're
Yes and
refunding
no.
a lot. We're
We
not
did have
giving
to
it back,
refund
but we're
Right.
not gonna be taking in quite as much because.
It's going in the right direction.
Right.
Correct. And I'm hoping to have probably a few more extra Pierce slips also, so if there's outside people that. It's just more revenue. I feel very confident about. The new season, if we get, some of these things fixed and. Not have to. Like I said, 100 times I came in late, but. I seen where everything keeps, it's just more and more goes out and out and out to keep fixing things, and I just think if we fix them correctly. In the long run, we're gonna be sitting good.
The hope is that grant could solve a lot of that problem and some of the things you've been complaining about or concerned about.
Right,
I do think that the rates can be examined continually.
I think that's something we ought to do annually anyways, but.
Right.
um,
Right,
not-
anyone
not
else
so soon.
on that right now? Anything else?
Rick,
Go ahead.
I think you were the only one on the board last year left when this happened. But the board had a guy, electrician, come out there and do a study. And I remember pretty well that when he gave that report, he said, just to redo everything the way it should be on a campground site. Not the beach site, he said, like an octopus under there. 34 years, he said, about $250,000.
$232,000. I remember that exactly. Yes.
And that was the meter room too, I think, right, including.
I don't know.
Yes,
what
that was the meter.
It's a matter of record,
Right.
because it said every time something breaks, they patch it the best they can to get it going. Some of that wiring and stuff in there, they 34 years, they don't even know where it's at, the schematics of that, but it was quite costly.
Yes.
That's why the state gave all these parks back to the counties, if they didn't want to do that, if they knew what was coming.
You guys got it for free, right?
And no free lunch.
Yeah.
Campground bathhouse improvements, is that? Discuss that, I guess. Superintendent's salary
well,
increase.
this is scary. Well, I was just looking over things in the past and the present and the future of what I've done. When I hired in, I was told that I would be reevaluated after 90 days. It's been 126. And I just thought it was time to be addressed. And I gave you all some of these, the first, okay, there been 3 superintendents in the past year? What the first one, Mark started out at, what Cameron started out at, and I started out lower than either one of them. And I think they were both, from what I could see, were here like maybe 3.5, 4 months. I didn't see a whole lot that had gotten done. I also put in there that what is in the budget for this year. And I'm not asking that. When Dick and I talked, when I got hired in, he said you wouldn't probably go to the max until a year's time. And I get that. That's, I totally understand that. So then the back page was just, some of the things that I have accomplished, just to, I guess, is why I'm asking for that request. Now, Dick and I talked the other day and I asked him if he thought it was feasible that I do this, and he said absolutely, because he thought I was doing a great job and that he would bring it up. And he's not here. So that's why when you walked in, I went, great.
I do think we owe you an evaluation, and
Okay,
and I think we should do that, and we'll get together and probably at the next meeting. I'll give you that evaluation and discuss, as part of that evaluation, salary, things will be talked about. And then we're setting a new budget in May or June, so we want to get all that taken care
Right.
of before that. And I think we probably should give you another review right before that as well,
Okay.
at about 6, 7 months from now. But I do think we owe you one, and we will do that for January.
Because I had the minutes from June. That Cameron was offered a raise, pretty significant.
No, she asked for one.
Yeah.
She went and
Oh.
offered it.
Yeah, she requested that.
Yeah.
Well, it has your name on it. It says Rick Ritzler believes the current salary should be blah, blah, blah.
It was a request from her that
Okay,
I think.
so I mean, that was the number Dick pulled out when he seen this and stuff, you know, that's up to you guys.
I'll talk to him about getting the evaluation that we can
Okay.
approve at the next meeting.
Not a problem. I just thought I would.
And I think that's the first step towards that process, and working with the council and the budget and all that. All right, financial report, does everyone have a chance to look at there's not much going on really in the winter.
No, just that NIPSCO bill is definitely significantly went down. And this will be. That, I think it's due the end of November, so it's basically October, you know. So the next one, and looking at the past, like comparison of the year, you know. November came significantly down, but then December, January, February, March are really down, so. Did pay for the winterization out of this one, at the end of the year, I had to do a nitrate test when we closed down, just, yeah, normal kind of stuff. The tree removal did get paid, the 2,000 out of that. I think I used most of that CDIP money up on those little things. There was like 300 and some left, so.
Good.
I'll
entertain a motion to approve the financials and claims.
I'll make the motion to approve the claims and
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Right. Any other business before the board?
I've got a follow.
Right.
We still need to address that diving board, as long as that lake's down like that, and if they could get a big piece of machinery in there to state or something. And you know, hook up and maybe pull it out that, the lake's down now, and you know, it's still there. And it's gonna be a problem, period.
Tracy, are you still working with the DNR on the permits?
With the pier permits.
I know, with the peer permits, do you think maybe you could bring that up with them? And talk on the next time, or maybe they can forward you to someone in DNR to help address that.
Now, did we decide that should be their responsibility?
Yeah, well, it is their responsibility, but we do need to tell them that we are concerned about it.
Well, that was put in initially by the state, right?
Yes,
So that's why we think we had at least asked them, saying that since they were the ones who originally put it in, is there a way that they
and
can?
if they say,
Let's get
no, then then we can go other recourses and maybe talk to a state senator or something like that.
Yeah,
Right.
sure can. I'm kind of in with the summit lady right now, but there's a bunch of the others that we have addressed on different things, you know, and
Just kind of feel them out a little bit.
exactly. We wanted to also, you know, talk to them about those swimming ropes, you know, that's a whole nother issue, but you know, just put all of that into,
Right.
you know.
It's
one thing.
definitely in the water, and it wasn't us who put it in there, so I think that it's a valid question to ask.
Go ahead.
I've got an update on the Veterans Memorial. I talked with Kathy Norm a couple times yesterday. And so all the money that's in there that was raised is in a temporary fund, in a permanent endowment fund with the community foundation. And twice a year, we get a portion of that sent back out to us on the interest. And then the blank pavers are in place. What they'll do is anybody that's wanting blank pavers out there for a veteran, they'll carve them in place. And I've got to get with Mark Smith. I'm still trying to determine who the representatives are. I know I'm the chair of it. Dick Beecham is from the VFW. And then there's supposed to be representation from the Knox Legion, the North Judson Legion, and the Hamlet Legion. Dick and I are going to go to both of those and try to find out who's gonna represent them.
Brian Kavanaugh was on that as representative.
Well, there's no commissioners.
He was on that board, maybe it wasn't for
He
that.
might have been for the American Legion.
That's probably what it was.
So I'll check with Brian, so. They were supposed to have that volunteer donor dinner, but they never had it. All the money that was given for the tickets for the dinner was reimbursed to everybody. But Kathy and I and Dick also think that it'd be a good idea to redo that. And then she gave Dick the fund agreement. So she told me I needed to get that from him. So I could start a binder and put all that together. So that's kind of where we're at on that right now. But that is supposed to generate its own money to the upkeep it, as well as the old Veteran Memorial over there on the other corner. So they were both deeded to the park.
Great, thank you.
And then somebody brought up that Frank Ono's name wasn't on there, so
That's being
then
taken
Dick
care of.
went and looked, and it's there, you
That-
know, and.
Is it done now? Okay.
Well, he said it's like at the bottom of the Eagle, it's all, he said everything's there,
Okay.
so.
I'll double check with Mark Smith.
Any other comments? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Sam,
Merry Christmas to everyone.
You should.
It's all of you, Merry Christmas and happy
You guys? Well, man, how are you?
Oh, yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
because you think about
This one, so don't do.
Yeah.
$365. And I'm just talking about net.